A pleasant good evening to you all. I'm Shane Harris. Last week I told you about Miles from Tomorrowland. Its season 1 and 2 variation has been pretty good. But I left out a lot of info because, well, you gotta watch it for yourself. I'm not spoiling too much for you. But at the same time, I felt like season 3, its Mission Force 1 overhaul, had a lot more depth. And as someone who likes depth and lore, you came to the right place. Now, some cable companies and some international versions of Disney Plus treat Mission Force 1 as a separate TV show. Even though it is technically Miles from Tomorrowland Season 3. And it's still canon and still linear, and it takes place just after the events of the Season 2 finale. Upon arriving the series, you are first greeted with this, a brand spanking new title card. With a sort of an arrow design that sort of reminds me of Ultraman for some reason. And also, talk about a terrible background choice, because black and a dark background does not work. But hey, this is only just a prototype poster, because these characters aren't leaving. They only just needed an outfit change. And also, as seen in the Season 2 finale, a haircut. If you happen to know what I'm talking about. Gone is the blue and white gradient outfit that Miles once donned in Season 1, and that weird black, blue, and orange from Season 2. And in came this. A beautiful revision. A new haircut. A uniform that's basically made of titanium. And, most likely, the ability to become a very aggressive character. One who has a more unbridled spirit to kick some ass and be a good leader. And that's what we got here. This time, following the events of Season 2, it was considered by the TTA that they should launch their own task force to protect the lives of the innocent and partake in operations such as recovery efforts and USAR missions. And at the same time, they have only one mission: to stop all forces of evil from thwarting their chances of survival. And at the end of the day, they got to do some really big things. More on that in a moment. And as you can see, they get to have more weapons. Miles and his sister Loretta, plus Harna, Mira, and Blodger are all given a major upgrade. And by the way, do not take a shot every time I say upgrade, because this show is basically a deluxe version of the previous build. Except a few notable changes. 1. Gone is the Season 1 theme music. It will make its return. It did make its return in the finale, though, but in the end credits, of course. More on that in a little bit. The intro is now an instrumental orchestral epic, featuring a narration by the host of Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And that is pretty damn fitting. The guest list was huge as well. You had a couple Disney personalities, like Bill Nye, Ginger Z, and Whoopi Goldberg all make appearances, plus a couple of sci-fi geniuses as well, like LeVar Burton, and also Mark Hamill, George Takei in there as well. And they managed to do one thing that most cartoons have never even got to do before. Work with NASA. With the series finale, they managed to team up with NASA and also their Caltech Jet Propulsion Lab outside of Los Angeles to all get together for a major finale. AKA the episode where they get to actually go on the International Space Station and prevent another 1998 Armageddon situation from happening ever again. And they had plenty of guests. They had someone on the ground who works at the Jet Propulsion Lab as a guest. They had a cosmonaut that was a guest. They had a European astronaut as a guest. A couple of NASA alums. And also, one of the best astronauts of all time, Arizona's Scott Kelly, being a guest. And probably the most prominent. Because, after all, you gotta have some realism. And realism worked beautifully on this show for season 3. And at the same time, the sci-fi and its violence were ticked up once as well. Miles this time gets to wield around not just an upgraded version of his boomerang, which now can convert into a staff, but also his blast board doubles as a shield. Which I think is a good idea. Especially the fact that now, in this season, he is aged 11. Well, look at that. This episode of Shane Harris Tonight is episode 11. Congratulations, me. Anyway, he's now a little bit older. He and the rest of his STEM-fueled brethrens are now fighting for good. And at the same time, their challenges were much harder. There were a few duds, though. Of course, there was one episode known as the Singing Planet. I'm not fond of musical episodes, unless if it's GarageBand. By the way, GarageBand is next year. Tune in. And, hello. There we go. And the only other dud is, well, this only ran 1 year. This was season 3 and the last season of the Miles from Tomorrowland saga. After this, who knows? It's up to us viewers. And there were some people who already went on to DeviantArt or YouTube to come up with their own alternative. My hand. Sorry, it was doing other things, alright? Alright. So, after season 3, the series ended in the best way possible with a fourth wall break, Miles saying goodbye to us. They played the season 1 theme music for the end credits in that episode, featuring screenshots of all the episodes from season 1 and later in chronological order. A nice touch by the DTVA crew. And by the way, it was up to us fans to come up what would happen when he turned 12 in season 4 that never happened. Well, there's someone named Astro Wolfie Star who came up with Invisible Shackles. A damn good alternative arc that you should check out on the Astro Wolfie Star YouTube page. Check that out, because they have earned themselves into like Robotech or Voltron kind of levels of damn good stuff. Plus, drama upgraded by twofold. Pretty good. And last but not least, this show is immortal for one reason. SpongeBob has never done this. Neither is The Simpsons, but Mission Force 1 was the first cartoon to premiere inside the ISS. That is saying something. Something that most cartoons will never get the ability to do. It's what happens if you shake hands with the elite. And not the rich elite, I'm talking about the really smart elite. Because astronauts and astrophysicists and all that other whatnot know their stuff. And so much so that all the consultants that worked with NASA and some that also worked with Google helped on this show to bring the scientific and astronomical side and make it much more understandable for us humans who don't have a freaking PhD in all these other whatnots and sciences and whatnot. And thus, another great show is in heaven, because in 2018, this series ended. But don't worry, folks. Shane Harris Tonight will return next week with another banger, featuring more cartoon characters in crazy outfits. And that'll be Code Lyoko from France. That'll be the season finale. I'm not done with the show. It's just I'll be done for the rest of the year because we got Christmas and Hanukkah coming up, and also New Year's. I'll be back next week, and then we'll have the Season 2 premiere on the first Friday in January, which is Egyxos from Italy. And now, one last thing of note. If you are a nerd for Disney television animation programming, you notice that Miles is wearing red, black, and a bit of silver. Kinda coincidental that in a few years before this, there was a pilot called The Rapscallions, where there's this kid named Duke, who had an outfit that was red, silver, and a bit of black as well, and also had a charismatic personality, and probably of a similar age level. I suggest you check out The Rapscallions pilot, which unfortunately was a failed pilot, but hey. And note the design choices for the outfit that Duke has, and try to compare it to the much more coincidental Season 3 Miles outfit. You'll realize what I mean. It's sheer coincidence, but hey, there could be a bit of inspiration, I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, I'm Shane Harris. I'll see you next Friday for the Season 1 finale. It's Code Lyoko, and you'll see it next week. Till then, good night.